This is the Mind of Mansion program. I am here with Pat Fitzmaurice. We have to talk about Rashee Rice. How does Rashee Rice affect A.J. Brown and his future destination? It could. It really could. There's actually been a lot of news for mid-May. We have a lot of news to go through, but there's also particular teams where you can mine a lot of value for fantasy football. So we have 5, maybe 6, depending on how much time we have, teams where you need to be going back to the well. A lot of value there. A lot coming up today on the Mind of Mansion program. Pat, we start with Rashee Rice. The report is he was taken back into custody. He failed a probation marijuana test. I didn't even know that was a thing at this point with marijuana. I can't even believe that this is still something they test for. I can't believe that he would even be in that situation at all anymore, but he is. And he failed, and now he's going back to jail. And it's also been disclosed that he had a cleanup procedure on his knee recently. So he has to rehab the knee in jail. That's where we stand right now with Rashee Rice. Your thoughts?
That seems like a suboptimal place to rehab from a cleanup surgery mat. I'm not going to lie. Some dingy county lockup.
People have bad luck, and difficult situations befall people. But Rashee Rice, this is like
self-inflicted.
This is not the first time. This is not bad luck.
Which is why I don't love the Josh Gordon comps. I mean, Josh Gordon got railroaded by an outdated marijuana policy that has since been revised. And, Rashee Rice violated the terms of his probation, which he was on for recklessly racing his car at high speeds and causing an accident that seriously injured people. So, I'm glad that NFL now, for the most part, has kind of followed the NBA's lead and just looks the other way on marijuana use. And I'd be a hypocrite to criticize anyone for that since I spent most of my 20s stoned, but not all my 20s, Matt. Like, I wasn't stoned if I had a job interview. Didn't get stoned for weddings and funerals. If I was on probation, I probably wouldn't have got stoned if I had, pleaded out of felony charges.
I don't know whether marijuana is addictive or not. I've heard it's not. Some people have said it is. I think this is a little bit of evidence that it might be a little more addictive than is being sold to be at some point. If someone can't stop in their career and millions of dollars are at stake, and we've seen this already with Josh Gordon. I think that is the Josh Gordon comp. I don't think it's about traffic offenses or reckless driving. With the Josh Gordon comp, which admittedly, I did post a Josh Gordon AI generated image on social media at fantasy_mansion saying, hey, we had that 2013 season for Rashee Rice. We did. And it's crazy. I only remember Josh Gordon as being a guy that was just always suspended every year, always tantalizing. There were this is not an exaggeration, 7 or 8 sell windows in Dynasty for Josh Gordon. And there was always someone in your league that was willing to take a chance. And this certainly feels very Josh Gordian, what's happening with Rashee Rice, even though Rashee Rice hasn't been suspended or missed nearly as many games as Josh Gordon at this point. But your argument is valid that actually Rashee Rice, his offenses have been more serious than Josh Gordon, and comparing the two is unfair to Josh Gordon.
And it was funny how long people chased the dragon on Josh Gordon for like 6 years after or more. He'd become the Kaiser Soze of the NFL by that point. Like, we didn't even know if he actually existed, but people heard these stories of his exploits. Yeah, So yeah, Rashee Rice looks like kind of a hot potato, especially in best ball, right? We'll have a better idea of where things stand in August when we're in the heart of redraft season. But for now, how early is too early?
Well, I know why they were chasing the dragon, as you said, with Josh Gordon. That 2013 season, just to remind everybody, we're talking about 14 games played. In 14 games played, he had 87 catches, 1,646 yards receiving, and 19 yards per reception and 9 touchdowns for one of the league's worst teams, the Browns. That season was special, and we all saw it, and we wanted to just get an opportunity to recapture that magic. Why not? Why not give up a second round pick in your dynasty rookie draft just for the chance? Yeah, I get it, man. I get it. So, Patrick Mahomes is not loving this. Rashee Rice has been a fade for me, but it's not about the suspension risk and the off the field behavior as much as it is the fact that his statistics and his fantasy point production is completely unsustainable. His target depth is one of the lowest in the league. And if you are just living on yak efficiency and you're not built like Deebo Samuel, I am skeptical. So I was skeptical of his production, of his fantasy point production, more than I was about the number of games he might play in any given season. So I just happen to not have a lot of exposure to Rashee Rice, and I've taken over a whole bunch of orphans. I took over 20 orphans in 20 days, big stunt that I pulled this offseason. I've been basically wrapping up a lot of these rookie drafts. We have a new Trade Gods episode coming out. Got a new Sonic Truth with Cody we'll be recording tomorrow. So look for that in your podcast feed and wherever you get your streaming videos. So we'll be talking a lot about those trades that I've been doing, but a lot of those rosters, not a lot of Rashee Rice. Just happen to luck out there because I'm going through them all. I'm like, where's my Rashee Rice? How exposed am I? Thankfully, not so much. How about you? Do you have a lot of Rice or not?
No, not in Dynasty. I was kind of I jumped in late last year in redraft because I'd sort of been off him, worried that maybe Xavier Worthy was more of a threat to him than people were believing, like early in best ball season and everything. Turned out not to be the case. That wasn't the reason to be off for Rashee Rice, but I got him discounted in redraft a little. Nothing in Dynasty though right now.
Yeah, Rashee Rice in Dynasty is it's a bold decision to go Rashee Rice, and he is already 26. So that's the thing. He's a year away from the age apex, and then it's a whole other set of concerns. I'm like, what are we really doing here? What do you think's going to happen? So he has to rehab in jail. He's not going to be able to be spending as much time with the team, developing the rapport. Again, with the short area route running, the rapport with Patrick Mahomes not as important, but it's not good. It's not good to be out there. You need to be out there. Okay. So I'm getting a really bad feeling here, man. I'm getting a really bad feeling. I wish there was some data that I could turn to other than the Josh Gordon career arc to help to define how we're going to value him in all these formats. Very tricky. Very, very tricky. You have to think he's going to start slow if he even is out there in week 1, week 2. So given that, how are you attacking the Chiefs offense in fantasy drafts?
Yeah. So need to know where he stands for the early drafts, man. Scott Fishbowl, things like that, drafts the kickoff in early July. We're not going to know. So probably just working around him. Am I attacking any of the other pass catchers? Is it dumb to think Travis Kelce could have some sort of the efficiency nosedived last year, but I still feel like he's going to be pretty heavily involved and is probably going to finish top 5 in tight end targets this year.
Yeah, he's going to be involved. I think that there's some nice value there. I don't know if you call it post hype value on Travis Kelce, post Taylor Swift hype value on Travis Kelce. Yeah, there is that. I think that's a great one. That's a great call. It's just hard for me. it's hard for anyone, I think, to get excited about Travis Kelce at this point in fantasy, but things are lining up for him. Things are lining up for Xavier Worthy as well. Xavier Worthy came out that he was playing hurt all year with a shoulder injury that he played through, a tear in his torn up shoulder, and that's a big deal.
Crashed into Kelce in that opener. That was just a disastrous play. I mean,
it was a disaster. It was a disaster play for sure. And I mean, maybe Kelce was hurt too. Maybe that's part of the reason with Kelce. So look, okay, Worthy, I think, is a value as well. There's upside there, especially healthy and having full rapport and developing potentially as the go-to outside weapon for Patrick Mahomes this offseason throughout the summer. And then you look even deeper down the roster. You got Tyquan Thornton. He's also on the outside. You got Jalen Royals. These guys have, I think, some potential to have spike weeks. Certainly Thornton is going to be a spike week specialist. I love Thornton in best ball, but I also like Thornton in a lot of these dynasty leagues that I'm in. They're super deep. I'm in a lot of these leagues where you start 3, 4, sometimes 5 receivers. There's flex positions. I'm looking at Tyquan Thornton going, he's available on the waiver wire. He's available as a throw-in anytime you want to do a trade if someone has him. He doesn't cost a thing. And 20-point spike weeks are there for him, especially if Rashee Rice is either not 100% or not playing. I like Thornton in redraft, in best ball, as a deep league spike week option. And I also think Jalen Royals is someone you need to keep on the taxi squad, and I've been trying to acquire wherever I can as well, just because he's a viable option for Mahomes. He was a rookie, day 3 rookie last year. No one's expecting a lot from a day 3 rookie. And of course, day 3 rookie doesn't produce. A lot of day 3 rookies don't produce. And yet then the next year, boom, right? So, Royals, best comparable to Michael Gallup on Player Profiler. Could be worse. Michael Gallup had a couple seasons, right?
Yeah, and Royals did have some of the prospect hounds in the dynasty community were caping up for him last year in rookie drafts, but then he had tendonitis in his knee and just couldn't get any traction. I think he missed some training camp because of that, and so he couldn't really get on the field. But yeah, he's interesting. And Thornton played almost 400 offensive snaps last year. Like, he actually played quite a bit, and he did hit on some big plays. So yeah, he's interesting too.
Yeah, Royals had over 1,000 yards and 15 yards per reception. He had 15 yards per reception plus both seasons at Utah State. Played some special teams, which I like to see. Had 21 touchdowns across those 2 seasons. Right? So in his final year, didn't play a full year. Right? If he played 13 plus games, he would have had over 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons. And, he was efficient both seasons. So he was productive in college. He came in athletic, right? You go back to Player Profiler. We scroll up to the top here. 4.42. Good burst, good agility, has the size. He's almost the exact same size with some of the almost precisely the same measurables as Rashee Rice. So no Rashee Rice, plug in Jalen Royals.
He's interesting for sure. You have any hope at all for Jeff Caldwell, the size speed freak, one of their UDFAs?
Is he a rookie?
Yes.
Right. I knew that, but he is a rookie. So a UDFA rookie, not going to happen. Right. The most successful UDFA rookie in year 1, probably Jalen Coker, who we'll talk about later. Right. We'll talk about later. And Rashee Rice, best comparable to Victor Cruz, another UDFA, but he did not break out in his rookie year. A UDFA rookie, it's just never going to happen. Right. It's never going to happen. Maybe in his second year. Right. So in Dynasty, that would be Caldwell will be a guy to monitor. He has to make the team. Okay. He has to make the team. And then if he can make the team and he's not just sent to the practice squad, if he's actually on the roster, or he probably be, odds are he's going to go to the practice squad. Then the question is going to be, does he get promoted to the roster? And so in Dynasty, I'll be watching that situation. And if he does ever get promoted, boom, you got to scoop him up. Oh, he's the 5th receiver. It doesn't matter. He is athletic. He goes to the practice squad. He gets promoted to the team. That means he's starting to translate his athleticism into on-field production in practice. And now the next step is to start doing that in actual games. You can see it all coming together. So that at that point, then you would add him. But even in a very deep league, I'm not going to go ahead and add a UDFA wide receiver at any point. It's not going to happen. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care how athletic he is. In fact, in some ways, the fact that he's so athletic is almost worse. Like, typically these teams, if they see something in one of these mega athletes, they're going to draft him in day 3. So that is a bit of a concern, especially with this class being so shallow on talent, especially on offense. So
yeah, when a guy's 6'5.5" and runs a 4.31 at the combine and doesn't get drafted, probably suggests that teams didn't love the film that much.
Or at the very least, he's a ways away. So you can just wait. Why would you burn a roster spot on that guy? Why would you burn a taxi squad spot on that guy? Well, you can just wait. And then people will forget about him, just like people have already forgotten about Jalen Royals. You were talking about it earlier. There's a whole hive around Jalen Royals, right? This whole dynasty hive around Jalen Royals. And where to go? Gone, right? Oh, because he didn't do anything. Did you really expect he was going to be super productive as a rookie? Come on, man.
Right.
No, now would be the time. Now he's comparable in many ways to Rashee Rice. Oh, now he's had a year where he can get healthy and he can show up to camp and he can be a featured guy in practices with Patrick Mahomes while Rashee Rice is doing leg extension exercises on a jail room cot. That's what he's doing. I mean, there's no physios, there's no trainers, there's no PT that I'm aware of in those facilities. So it's bad, man.
Yeah.
It's bad. I wonder, I mean, from what you're seeing on social media, podcasts you've listened to, is there anyone out there that you respect that's like, this is a buy the dip? It's a buy the dip situation on Rashee Rice?
I've not seen a lot of buy the dip sentiment on Rashee Rice in recent days.
I can't do it. I would love to be that guy, man. I would love to be that guy. Oh, the contrarian buy the dip guy on Rashee Rice. God, I'd love to be that. I can't do it, man.
There are people who love the blood in the streets and want to get into the fray when things get ugly.
There is value, man. I think that the Kansas City Chiefs, we would have to put them in the top 10 in terms of value to be mined on that offense. With Kelsey, first and foremost, with Mahomes coming off an injury. He's been exceeding expectations at every step of his rehabilitation. And then all these other receivers, especially the fringy ones, the Thorntons and the Royals, there's just a lot of value to be had there. So I think I would put the Chiefs as a top 10 value team for fantasy. You agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Giants, I'm not sure. We have some that we've locked in, right? I'll even tease some of these. We've locked in New Orleans as a value team in fantasy. Would you consider Miami a value team? You would. A lot of value there.
Potentially. I mean, if we're going thrifting, Matt.
That's what I'm saying.
We would be going thrifting. Like, there's some interesting final round best ball dart throws among the pass catchers.
Yeah.
But
Commanders, a lot of value with the Commanders, right?
Yes.
So we agree. We agree with it. But the Giants are tough. The Giants are very tricky because they're coming out saying, I think Jackson Dart said this, that they're going to be a run first team. And with Malik Neighbors now going back for a revision surgery, not great. He's not going to be ready, and he's certainly not going to be 100% to start the year. Not going to be ready for camp. I mean, certainly. So
is it a revision surgery or is it just cleanup?
Is there a difference?
Yeah, I think revision is if something is sort of wrong with the recovery.
Okay, I apologize.
That's okay.
I'll take it back. I said revision. I should have said cleanup. I'm going to check this real quick.
I only say this because I've seen a couple of the injury docs I trust on Twitter, like Jeff Mueller and Adam Hutchison, have said that maybe it's not cause for alarm, that they're just breaking up scar tissue to help the recovery stick to the timetable.
Help with this flexibility.
Yeah.
He's probably feeling very stiff, and they can go in and they can shave down some of the scar tissue to help with the flexibility. That is not necessarily a revision surgery. I'm not a doctor. I don't know the exact difference. So if I gave anyone the wrong impression, I sincerely apologize.
Revision.
I sincerely apologize for that.
Correct.
I want to revise my statement. I will revise my statement that the procedure was a cleanup procedure, and it was standard, and yet not great, right? Not great. Anytime you have to go back in because for whatever reason, you're not happy with your pain threshold that you're experiencing. You're not happy with the flexibility. For whatever reason, you're going back in, okay, for some kind of additional procedure. Okay, you had an additional procedure. That you can't get me on. If I call it an additional procedure, there's no way that's going to be misconstrued, okay? There's an additional procedure, which means he has to go back in, which means he's going to expand and elongate the recovery timetable. That's for sure, okay? So training camp, forget about it, right? Preseason, we'll see. Start of the season, maybe, right? Probably not. My default assumption is always these guys are going to start the year on the pop. Isn't that a fair approach? And then if they don't, you're pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Reasonable to expect 3 games missed.
Pup.
Something like that. Pup.
So now who are their receivers? Okay, no neighbors. Their receivers are Darnell Mooney, Calvin Austin.
Fields, Calvin Austin.
Oh, right. Don't forget about the rookie, right? The rookie. Not going to do anything in year one, but he's on the team. Malachi Fields is on the team. He's a basketball player, apparently. Right? That's what Joe Schoen called him. He's the first ever NFL basketball player. Fantastic to hear that. You know, he's a historic player. Wow, exciting stuff. But then there's also Darius Slayton. We just keep going down this list, and it's making Darnell Mooney look like a superstar. Darnell Mooney's actually had a breakout season. Darnell Mooney was relevant in fantasy at one point. Those other guys can't really say that. So you would want to think that there's some value here if you go deep enough, but what are they really offering you? And if they're going to go run first anyway, yeah, you're going to get a couple spike weeks from Darnell Mooney, maybe. We'll see. Maybe the spike week goes to Calvin Austin. He's also running a sub 4.40. Great. Cool. But don't know when to start him. Just best ball and you have him. Oh, you're pleasantly surprised, but is this a great source of value? The tight end position, Isaiah Likely, but there's also Theo Johnson. So they want to go 12 personnel. Of course they want to go 12 personnel. If you don't have Malik Neighbors on the field in week 1, you're going to go 12 personnel a lot. You're run first offense. They're already saying this. It's May. They're saying it's going to be run first already. So knowing it's a run first offense and their starting running back, their bell cow, is out, and we're not sure when he's going to be back. Will he start the season on the pup? He says he won't. Says he'll be ready for week 1 in May. And I've heard this before. So even though I think this team, the Giants, looks like a roster that has value opportunity, has thrift store shopping appeal. And yet I just don't see a lot of upside. And then it all trickles down, man. It all trickles down, right? What does it all add up to? To me, all of this adds up to Jackson Dart as a fade. Like, if that team is not offering value for fantasy, how could Jackson Dart possibly deliver?
You haven't even mentioned that Matt Nagy is going to be the play caller for the Giants.
Well, the audience relies on me to not care about who the hell is calling the plays because they're not actually doing anything on the field.
That's true. I know you're player-based, player-focused.
player profiler focused, absolutely. And hence the logo above my head. However, I do bring on a lot of great guests, and a lot of them have a lot more knowledge about the coaches and tendencies than I do. And so it's good to know that when you look around the league, you don't consider Matt Nagy an above average coach.
No.
Okay. So then now what do we have to hold on to with the Giants here?
Yeah. The attraction was that it was going to be pretty consolidated with touches, with Scadaboo getting the bulk of the work in the backfield, Neighbors leading in targets by a mile. If that's in jeopardy with their health status, then things get really murky. And yeah, Dart becomes a less attractive investment.
So we are not going to consider the Giants a value team for fantasy. I do have Scadaboo. I happen to be acquiring a bunch of teams with Scadaboo. I traded him in one team. Still have him on a bunch of teams. I like Scadaboo a lot. I mean, he's just the profile that I like, right? If you're big and you catch a lot of passes and you earn the respect and the trust of coaches as a day 3 pick early in the season, these are incredible signs for your career. But he's not healthy.
He says he's going to run for, well, not run for, but gain 2,000 yards this year. Love the bravado, but
I know that it's scary, right? Foot injuries are scary. In this particular situation, I think that is where I would focus my attention. I'm going to go ahead and just, or is it ankle? Was it ankle or foot? I can't keep track.
It was ankle, but he also broke his fibula and ruptured, I think it was a deltoid ligament, which I'm not sure what that is. But, and I know that, I think it was Ryan Heath of Fantasy Points noted on Twitter the other day that some of the players coming back from broken fibulas in recent years weren't very effective upon their return. Tony Pollard, Chris Godwin, Isaiah Pacheco. So maybe we should pump the brakes a little bit on Cam.
Well, he can't be exercising the leg. The leg is going to atrophy throughout the offseason. He's going to try to come back, but he was already saying, hey, it's okay. It's May. I'm going to be ready for week 1. Don't worry, everybody. It was a horrific lower leg injury. Okay. Basically, it injured everything except the foot. So my track record so far on this show for, injury diagnosis and surgery breakdown has been awful. Okay.
It was ankle too, I think.
I know I said foot originally, but it wasn't a foot. It was a foot. I remember it being like multiple things. And so I imagined the foot was, but because the foot is the scariest one. Like that's the Julio Jones corollary, right? But no, actually not as scary, but the fibula is scary in that you can't really do anything. If it's all the way up your leg, you're in this a bigger cast. You're not going to be able to do nearly the same, level of exercise. And it's just going to elongate the process. The recovery process is going to take time. So we're going to see a lot of Tyrone Tracy. Maybe Tyrone Tracy has to be interesting. But we're talking about the month of September for Tyrone Tracy, where you're going to actually feel like he's usable at all if Scadaboo is limited. I think Scadaboo will be limited. As soon as the guy comes out in May and says, I'm not going to be limited, he's going to be limited. That's because he's getting the question. Why are you getting the question now? Why is there concern? There's concern because it was a major injury. And we know you haven't been able to do anything. And you're going to show up to the facility in August having not been participating in football-related activities for many, 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 many months. And this is the running back position. And I'm not surprised that Pacheco disappointed and all these other running backs disappointed coming off of this. Still think he's a buy in Dynasty, and I think that's about it. That's about it. And so this is one of those where I would buy the dip, and almost in Dynasty, I believe in him so much, and they didn't draft a running back with early capital, which tells me that the Giants believe in him. So I would use the news that he is being set back or that he isn't quite ready and he's going to be wearing a medical jersey during practice. Whatever the news is, I'm sure there's going to be. I'm preparing everyone for a lot of doubt, a cloud of doubt surrounding Cam Scadaboo throughout the summer. Use that as an opportunity to acquire him in Dynasty.
Yeah, agree. I've got him on like 3 teams, and no one's even approached me with a trade offer because I think they know I'm not selling low on this guy.
You're not selling low. You're not selling low. But again, it's gonna start to fatigue the Scadaboo owners. All this talk about him missing camp and will he be ready for this? It's gonna start to create some fatigue, and you can capitalize on that. But otherwise, Giants, not a team I want a lot of exposure to. This Bucky Irving injury is another one, a lower leg injury. I'm just going to say lower leg injury. Okay, that way I can't be wrong. You're going to tell me it was a wrist injury next. That's what's going to happen. So Bucky Irving, similar reports about, okay, he's not ready yet, but he will be ready. And then there are reports, touting Kenneth Gainwell. And anyone that has seen the profiles of these two players knows they are similar. Like, oh, well, Kenneth Gainwell can do a lot of the things that Bucky Irving can do. Yeah, we know that. Yeah, it's not like Bucky Irving didn't wake up one day and weigh 220 pounds, right? He's always been a scat back, satellite back plus player that the NFL has trusted with a lot more touches than any of us imagined when he came out of college. And whenever they trust Kenneth Gainwell in big situations, he's delivered. And they deliver in very similar ways. So they are similar. It's just that Kenneth Gainwell didn't seize the job for whatever reason early in his career the way Bucky Irving has, but he's blooming and blossoming right now in front of us, Kenneth Gainwell. I love Kenneth Gainwell this year. I think he's a great value. I think he's going to be involved. And yeah, they are similar players. And I wouldn't be surprised if Bucky Irving has some sort of delay in his return to the field as well. What do you think?
So it's a shoulder, I think, for Bucky, not a lower leg.
Is it really a shoulder? I knew it. I knew I'd be wrong again. I'm getting it all mixed up.
In season, Matt, we're all dialed in on this stuff in season. Like we've got the X-rays we're looking at, during while we're managing our teams in week 5, but then it gets to the off season. It's like, oh, can't remember if it was a lower leg or a shoulder.
I loved how I was like, oh, I'm definitely got this. Okay, I got this, man. Lower leg. Yeah. I can't be wrong. Lower leg. I don't remember if it's a foot or an ankle. Lower leg. You're like, no, actually, it's a shoulder. So in terms of a serious shoulder injury, there's another one where I'm like, yep, that's going to be tough to come back from.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm worried that he's not going to be ready for OTAs or anything as long as he's okay for camp. And I know people are down on Bucky, and a lot of people have kind of fallen in love with Kenneth Gainwell, and maybe think this is going to be a committee. I don't agree. Sean Tucker might get goal line carries again, and Kenneth Gainwell might play on third downs because he's a much better pass blocker than Bucky Irving. He's not a better pass catcher though, Matt. I mean, in fact, I think Bucky's clearly the better pass catcher. 1.56 yards per route run for his career versus 1.19 for Kenneth Gainwell. Bucky had more catches in his best college season than Gainwell did while playing at Oregon against top competition while Gainwell was at Memphis. So I just think Bucky is a much better player than Kenneth Gainwell is. Let's not forget just how good Bucky was in 2024. He was just a monster over the second half of that season. I hate the term league winner, but Bucky Irving was a league winner. I won a league that year largely because of what Bucky did for me down the stretch. From week 10 on, after Liam Cohen kicked Rachaad White to the curb and decided Bucky was clearly better and deserved more snaps and carries, Bucky averaged 115 yards from scrimmage per game And that included a game where he played 10 snaps and had 18 yards from scrimmage because he got dinged up. He had 1,514 yards from scrimmage and 8 touchdowns as a rookie, despite starting off as the backup to Rachaad White that year. And he led all running backs in yardage after contact per carry, at least all running backs with more than like 50 or 60 carries. Last year was bad for sure, and injuries played a part of it. Not only Bucky's injuries, offensive line injuries. Went from 5.4 yards per carry to 3.4. Went from a breakaway percentage of 34.9 to 13.4. Yards after contact per attempt plummeted. Here's the thing, Matt. To my eye last year, Bucky didn't look bad. Like, he just kind of looked like the same guy was in 2024. The big runs just weren't there. And a lot of the offensive line metrics, stuff like adjusted line yards and PFF run blocking grade, say the Buccaneers were not as good run blocking in 2025 as they had been in 2024. So I think that was part of it. But
yeah, the run blocking rating we have on Player Profiler for Bucky Irving was 25.0, which ranked 49th among NFL running backs. But what was he doing? Efficiently catching passes out of the backfield. Over those last 2 seasons, like 88% catch rate out of the backfield. He is a fantastic receiver. Yep. He's the type of player I've always wanted the NFL to feed, and they've refused because he's 192 pounds. Now they are, and I'm like, well, slow down.
That's it.
Like, what are you doing? No, we should want this. And always been like, hey, if it's an upper body injury, not nearly as big of a deal as lower body. And so when you stack all that up, then, Bucky Irving, a better buy, more certainty that he's going to play week 1, week 2, week 3, the month of September, than Cam Scatterbo. I think we can say that because it was a shoulder injury. Did he play hurt last year with a shoulder injury?
Yeah, he was out for a while. I think part of it was like he was like a mental thing where he was, I don't know, talked about how he was depressed because he couldn't play. Football means so much to him, wasn't able to play. Okay. So I'm not sure exactly what the timetable was on like the shoulder versus him having these mental issues. But
the injury situation last year was as follows for Bucky Irving. He was playing hurt a lot. Okay. So he had a foot sprain, okay, in week 4 of 2025. So again, I feel redeemed here. Okay. A couple things. I just got back to the United States. So I was in England going to the Leeds United Brighton match and did the little Beatles tour. It was a great time, my buddies. Great time. So I am not 100% up to speed on everything. Plus, there's been this Rashee Rice incident that has been dominating the coverage. And so I apologize to the audience that I am not as sharp as I typically am with the injury reporting around these players in mid-May. That all said, the injury last year was lower body, and it was the foot injury, which was the original confusion, right? So what I remember about Bucky Irving is a foot injury, and I think that also got transferred over to my analysis of Cam Scatterbo. And then I was certain, well, maybe I'm not going to say foot injury now with Bucky Irving because of, I'm already shook over the Cam Scatterbo inaccuracy. And then sure enough, boom, it was actually shoulder. So this tells me that he played with a shoulder injury last year, and then he had to go get it worked on in the offseason, similar to Xavier Worthy. That's what this seems. This seems like a Xavier Worthy situation where he was, and the efficiency lines up. It all tracks, Pat.
Yeah. So he, even though he was banged up last year, averaged 20.3 touches a game, which, I mean, we love that sort of volume. And I know people think the arrival of Kenneth Gainwell sort of heralds the end to that workhorse usage for Bucky Irving. And as you alluded to, Matt, maybe for a guy under 200 pounds, we don't necessarily want that sort of usage, but the idea that it's going to be like an even split between these guys. I mean, I don't think it will be. I looked at how Mike Clay of ESPN is projecting it, since Mike does early projections and is very good at it. He has Bucky Irving averaging 17.7 touches a game this season, Gainwell 9.5. And that sounds about what I'm expecting. I mean, Gainwell averaged 6.7 carries a game last season. That was the most he's ever averaged per game in his NFL career. So if people want to fade Bucky Irving this year, cool. Then I'm going to draft a shitload of Bucky Irving this summer.
I'm not fading him at all. In fact, I'm on it, and I also want to thank the audience. You know, I had clearly I'm still getting used to this new setup and this new software, and my audio was bad. And thank you for saying it. If you notice in the live chat that my audio is not great, please let me know, and I will update it, because it defaults to my computer audio and not my microphone. And I have a little thing that says mic check right here. There's a little mic check, little piece of paper in front of me that says mic check, and I didn't check the mic. I checked everything else, and I did not check the mic. And so I want to thank everyone for letting me know that the mic was not great. And now I just have to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do about the podcast. Now that I know that the first 40 minutes of this show were with subpar audio, hopefully the podcast audience will. I'll have to do. You know what? This makes me want to do a monologue. This makes me want to add a monologue and apologize to the podcast audience and say, hey, what you're about to hear, the audio is not optimal for the first, let's say, 30 minutes. And then you got to work with me, because eventually the live audience tells me that the mic is not great, and then I adjust. Do you agree right now, Pat, this mic is better?
It sounds great. You could
great.
Come clean to your audience and acknowledge that you have been distracted working on Premier League Profiler and the upcoming launch of that you have coming.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes.
Wouldn't that be cool? Hey man, with Claude, we could potentially do it. There's a lot of possibilities with Claude with Player Profiler. That's something that people should be looking out for in the future. We have a lot of cool tools we'll be rolling out, a lot of plans using AI coding. So that certainly is something that is going to be happening. So I think we should do that. We'll do that. I will put that out there to the podcast audience. Let them know, hey, just stick with me. If you can get through the first 30 minutes with the shitty audio, then the live chat really came through. So I appreciate the live chat letting me know. And yeah, mistakes were made in the show, man. Mistakes were made in mid-May with a fantasy football show. Mistakes have been made. And this is the money. What I want to talk about now is the money. This is where we're going to make the money. All right. So we've decided, just to recap, Rashee Rice, he's out. All right. But Jalen Royals, very interesting. Tyquan Thornton, Xavier Worthy, very interesting. Travis Kelce, very, very interesting for seasonal leagues. We are concerned about Scadaboo. The Giants are a stay away team, but I still believe you want Scadaboo long run. Bucky Irving, he's probably going to be fine. It was a shoulder injury that he's recovering from. So we're buying the dip in Dynasty on Scadaboo. We're buying the dip on Bucky Irving in best ball and seasonal leagues in particular. And now we're going to go to some teams where we're just buying everybody, right? Where we're just buying everybody. We want everybody. There's a lot of value to be had. And the first team has got to be New Orleans. Isn't it New Orleans? I mean, let's talk about New Orleans. The first thing to talk about with New Orleans is this Alvin Kamara situation. It's a very interesting situation. I've been doing this for so many years. And yet every year, all these new situations come up that I don't remember ever seeing. When have you ever seen the situation with Alvin Kamara where it's like, this is a dynamic playmaker and no one in fantasy cares about him or wants anything to do with him? They're wishing he would just go away. Meanwhile, he's like, I want to be here. I'm going to do whatever I can to stay here. I am treating everybody with the utmost respect, including Travis Etienne, and I'm going to force this team to betray me.
in order to get rid of me. And so now we're in a situation where, like, okay, Alvin Kamara has been so awesome for so many years. Sure, his efficiency has declined recently, and Travis Etienne's the guy now. But if you're New Orleans, you're trying to win games. This is not a team that's in tank mode. And if you're trying to win games, the last thing you want to do is like let Alvin Kamara walk for nothing, or just let him go for nothing. He has more value to you, especially because he's so bought in to the team, than he does for another team. So then just hold on to him. But then if they do hold on to him, that necessarily will diminish the fantasy output of Travis Etienne. Tricky.
Yeah. And it looks like they're kind of stuck with him this year. It'd be, I think, a cap hit of more than 10 million to get rid of him. So I don't know what they do other than keep him.
But if you're New Orleans, if you are a fan of the Saints, aren't you happy about this? Like, isn't it only fantasy gamers that are like, get rid of him, get him out of our lives, we want to consolidate the touches? It's just a fantasy thing. But if I'm a Saints fan, I'm like, yeah, man, this is a great situation.
Yeah, if he still has steam. I mean, we've seen a drop off in the efficiency in recent years, but I don't know. Are we upset that he's blocking Devin Neal and Kendre Miller?
I mean, he's only 30 years old. Okay, we've seen 30-year-old running backs be productive. How old is Christian McCaffrey? Now, I know Christian McCaffrey, his efficiency hasn't declined year in, year out, but I mean, Kamara's, just his yards per carry, just looking at super high level, 3.9 in 2023, goes up to 4.2 in 2024, down to 3.6 last year. His receptions have been in stark decline, 75, 68, 33, but he played in less games last year than he did previously. So it's, yeah, the efficiency is declining, but it's also a smaller sample last year than you typically see. The catch rate was still high. He's still super efficient out of the backfield. Had 4 breakaway runs, so he's still able to break away at like a 3.1 rate, which is not great, but I've seen worse. His yards created per touch, 3.15, 32nd. It's not good. His juke rate, 22.6, 30. I mean, he's top 35 in juke rate, which is evaded tackles per touch, and yards created per touch on Player Profiler. That's not great. That's not elite. That's not what we've seen from Alvin Kamara, but there's certainly many running backs that were a lot less efficient than him.
Yeah. It's an interesting situation. I'm not necessarily worried about Alvin Kamara if I'm a HN investor, but I know if you're holding on to Devin Neal or Kendre Miller in a dynasty league, you'd probably
Kendre
like
Miller.
to see that resolved. I know he can't stay healthy.
Kendre Miller, he's completely unrostered, and even the deepest dynasty leagues that I'm in. Devin Neal, he's just one of those 2025 running backs that is just lingering around, and he's got like a good but not great all-purpose skill set. Happy to keep him stashed in dynasty, knowing that Alvin Kamara is 30 years old. And then he becomes an injury away from being interesting on a team that is ascending. This team is ascending. When Shuck arrived, it was a clear upgrade. There's been just positive momentum around him. They go and they draft a receiver in the top 10 to support their quarterback that they hit on, thinking this is like, not necessarily Drew Brees, but he was drafted at a very similar draft spot to Drew Brees. Like, hey, we've done this before. End of the first round, beginning of the second round. See if we can do it again. Yeah, Chuck is old, but he was good. I mean, Cody Carpentier is very in on him. I mean, he has overpaid for Shuck in leagues, and one I sent him. But in another league, after Cody so confidently targeted Shuck, I went out and I targeted Shuck. I was like, listen, if Cody loves Shuck this much, then, I'm, it was one of those situations where it's a super flex league and Dynasty, and I just had to overpay if I wasn't able to send a quarterback going back in the other direction. I mean, you've tried to do these deals, right? In super flex and 2 QB leagues, very difficult if you're not sending a quarterback back. So Shuck is one of those guys that's outside the top 15 in all the rankings. So you can't acquire him. CJ Stroud is another player I've acquired without sending a quarterback back in return. But those are probably the 2 quarterbacks that I've been able to acquire in Dynasty without sending a quarterback on the other side. And in both situations, I had to give up a lot. Right? I had to give up multiple productive players to get them. And I was happy. Right? I said, because it was I took over this orphan that was all decrepit, didn't have a chance to win, but yet had Devontae Adams, had George Kittle, and I'm like, had Tyreek Hill. What do you do with these teams? Right? You just need to get what you can and blow it up and rebuild. And my choice was to say, I'm going to blow it up, and I'm going to blow it up, and I'm going to bring in Tyler Shuck to secure my quarterback room. Chris Olave, Jordan Tyson. They're already saying Jordan Tyson's uncoverable in camp. What do you think? What do you think of the Saints offense this year?
It's exciting that Shuck challenged defenses downfield last year. I think his average depth of throw was, depending on which source you use, Pro Football Reference had it at 8.3 yards. Fairly aggressive. He is going to be playing a fast-paced offense. We know Kellen Moore likes to keep things brisk. That's good. More plays, little residual benefit there. And yeah, we have to like the targets. I mean, Olave and Tyson is now a pretty nice tandem. Juwan Johnson, a serviceable tight end. We were talking about the prospects for Vele and Bryce Lance, who's an interesting size speed guy. So there's a little bit of depth here. Got running backs who can catch. So, and Shuck adds a little bit of running value. And remember last year in the run up to the draft where we kept hearing that NFL teams were higher on Shuck than the fantasy community. And people kind of laughed at him. You've got this old rookie that people like this guy. It's turned out pretty well so far. And Shuck, I don't know, when you play in college for a long time and make a lot of college starts, we've seen it with Bo Nix, we've seen it with Brock Purdy. Sometimes the transition to the NFL is a little easier.
Who's your favorite value of all?
For the Saints?
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm punting tight end, Juwan Johnson he's been perfectly serviceable, and he's the guy who's just going to be there for you at the end of drafts.
What about Oscar Delp in tight end premium dynasty leagues?
He's interesting. I mean, the numbers were pretty terrible at Georgia, but he's athletic. He could be the dollar store Brock Bowers, I guess. But no, I'm not even going to say that. Brock Bowers is a different species than Oscar Delp. But Delp is interesting as a developmental guy. I don't think it's going to happen in year one, but if you've got patience and aren't going to cast him aside like Jalen Royals if he doesn't pop as a rookie, yeah, he might turn into something.
I like Devon Vele. If I go through all my rosters, one of my most rostered players in all of Dynasty right now is Devon Vele because he's getting dropped. Like what happens is you have the rookie draft, it happens. And then to accommodate all the new players that are coming in from the rookie draft, people have to make decisions, have to make tough roster cuts, and they're letting Vele go because Vele didn't produce last year. He went from 475 yards in 2024 down to 300 yards. But the air yards remain consistent. And if you recall, the Saints gave up 2 draft picks to get him. So they went out and they intentionally acquired him. This is a team that's going to be playing on turf. This is not one of those teams everyone's talking about 12 personnel. This is a team that's going to be playing, I think, an above average rate of 11 personnel. And who is the third receiver for the Saints right now? Vele.
Probably Vele. Yeah, it is interesting that they spent more acquiring him in a trade than the Steelers spent to acquire Michael Pittman.
Bingo. Bingo, bingo, bingo. And he's got some size, man. The guy's 6'4", 203. He's going to probably add a little more weight this offseason. I would be surprised if he comes in stronger, 205, 210 even.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
And I know
red zone option. Juwan Johnson's not the biggest tight end for the red zone. So now think about what this does for Shuck. He gets a 6'4" receiver in Vele. He's got Olave, one of the best deep threat wide receivers in the league. They got Jordan Tyson. No one can cover him. It's a good time to be Tyler Shuck.
it is. He's set up well.
Even Olave is a value. I mean, everybody. I like everybody here. Okay. With Jordan Tyson's there in a rookie draft, and okay, I'll draft him. I'm not getting cute and going Lemon or Sadiq. No, I'm all about Jordan Tyson. I'm in on Jordan Tyson. Drafting him with confidence. Vele, vacuuming him up everywhere. Everywhere. All these deep dynasty leagues, I want Vele. And then also for best ball stacking, Shuck, Olave, Juwan Johnson, not bad.
And it's a cheap stack with Shuck at quarterback.
This is what I'm talking about.
He's probably the best value, Matt. I mean, I said Juwan Johnson earlier, but Shuck, if you're in a managed redraft league, it might not be worth your while to draft a second quarterback. Some leagues it is, if bigger leagues, bigger rosters, more teams, but in best ball, like Shuck is pretty easy to acquire as a backup quarterback, and there's a lot of potential value there. Really easy to stack up with either Olave or Tyson.
When I did this trade and I acquired Shuck for a bunch of like 30-plus-year-old receivers, right? So I just hey, take all my receivers in their early 30s. You can have them all, and you give me Shuck. That was the trade. And I think in the chat there was like a lot of boos, like what am I doing? What am I doing? Right? Because that's the thing. The perception is not that the Shuck is a bridge quarterback. But if he's just good in September, the narrative flips immediately. Immediately it flips. Like you could see a huge return in Superflex and 2QB dynasty leagues with Shuck.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly.
I mean, there's a non-zero chance that he doesn't play well enough to preclude the Saints from drafting a quarterback in the first round next year. But it's also a chance that they just want to roll with this guy and play it out and build your roster around a cheap quarterback who's going to be on his rookie contract for a few more years.
What if he plays great? That's the thing. A lot of these teams in this division, they give up a lot of points.
Yeah.
NFC South is where you want to be, man. That's why we have multiple teams in the NFC South on this list. Why? Because there's a lot of points scored. Last time I checked, that's what matters in fantasy. You need to score points to score fantasy points.
Yeah, getting 6 games against NFC South opponents, that doesn't suck.
It doesn't suck, man. And you have a great home field for point scoring. You've got this huge upgrade in weaponry. I mean, they did bring in Vele for you. I mean, they went out and they acquired Vele.
That's commitment.
So that's that's a big deal. So there's another team that I'm bullish on, but not because the weaponry is so good. It's because the weaponry isn't good. But everybody knows the weaponry is not good. So all it has to do is like exceed expectations a little bit. And that's Miami. Miami is interesting because I did not realize how poorly Mike McDaniel called plays and ran that offense last year from the sideline. We're talking about 55.8 plays per game. Team pass plays per game. Okay. That was last. That was tied with Vegas for last in the league. 55.8 team pass plays per game. Minus 5.8% expected pass rate over expectation. That was bottom 5 in the league. That was the Dolphins last year. And you're like, oh, well, their passing game was struggling. Yeah, but still, right? But still, yeah, but their best player was a running back. Okay, but still, right? But still, another coordinator coming in is absolutely going to ratchet up the rate of play, the rate of passing, especially with this team. Even though it is Malik Willis, and now you have a mobile quarterback, and your best player is a running back, they're still going to throw more this year than they did last year. It's impossible for them to throw less, so they're going to throw more. So we know that. And now you've got a dual threat quarterback. If he can't throw as well as most NFL quarterbacks, well, Tua couldn't either, but Tua wasn't mobile. But at least you're holding defenses accountable with your legs if you're Malik Willis. And then so Malik Willis, I think, is a great value. He's a guy I want. And then the question is, the issue with Malik Willis for best ball is the lack of stacking capability with him. I mean, it's really tough. It's really tough. They draft all these rookies that you're not that excited about at receiver. They bring in Jalen Tolbert, who no one's excited about. They bring in Greg Dulcich, who I'm the only one who's excited about. And yet I look around and I'm like, I have all this Tolbert. I have all this Dulcich. I have all this Malik Willis because I have all this Ollie Gordon. And Achane is going to be better this year too. I think there's value here. I think this is the deepest of the value mines is Miami. Just because the perception is they can't score no points. Right. And then they're downgrading their offensive coordinator and their coaching staff because Mike McDaniel was there and he's a genius. I don't see it that way. I see it as it can't get worse, and adding a mobility element to the quarterback position is great for everybody, Achane included. And someone's going to have to score points there. And if you can just figure out who that's going to be, then that's gonna be able to let you cash in some value.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm quite as confident as you that their pass rate over expected is going to be much better than it was last season. I feel like it could still be underwater just because of who the quarterback is. Malik
it will
Willis.
be because of Willis. It will be. It just won't be that. It won't be that exaggerated.
Yeah. I mean, we just know that a lot of his dropbacks are going to end up in scrambles, and that's going to keep the pass rate down a little bit. So,
but that was their pass rate with Tua, a non-mobile quarterback.
Right.
So again, this is what I'm saying. Like this, it was a bad job. It was bad coordinating in Miami last year, but because Mike McDaniel, he has cool glasses. And he worked under Shanahan, and he'll land softly somewhere. He'll get it. He'll draft off of whatever quarterback. Who's his quarterback now? Herbert. Yeah. So he'll draft off a big year, a big renaissance year for Herbert, and then he'll get another head coaching job in a year or two. We all know this is going to happen, right? This is definitely going to happen.
He's the hipster play caller, man.
This is going to happen.
He surreptitiously vapes on the sideline. He's got the cool glasses.
He surreptitiously vapes. I love that statement, that just phrasing that was great.
That was a couple of years ago. I don't know if he did that last year, but
yeah, you're going to have some hipster or wannabe, like sort of you're going to have some like Silicon Valley equity holder of a team be like, we got to get McDaniel.
Yeah. But you mentioned
cool.
You mentioned how many plays they ran per game. That should go up. Bobby Slowick, his 2 years as the Texans offensive coordinator, I believe they were top 10 in offensive pace those years. So that's a good sign.
They're going to play faster. They're going to play faster. I also think Tua makes it very difficult. Tua's very bad, and he's left-handed, and it just makes everything more difficult. I think Malik Willis is going to make it easier for them to play faster. So I'm excited for this. And I like Achane. I like Achane because all the models for the Dolphins, dragged down Achane for fantasy. And I'm like, all we need to do is just get them a little bit closer to the mean as a team. And all of a sudden you're looking at Achane going, oh my, He's going to catch a ton of passes. He's going to deliver the explosive runs. You have the Alfred Morris corollary where now linebackers aren't going to be able to tee up on him as well as they were before.
Yeah. We know that mobile quarterbacks tend to spike the rushing efficiency of their running backs. And Achan's a little more talented than Alfred Morris was, a little more elusive.
A little more. And Ollie Gordon is too. Ollie Gordon is too. I will say, I have made some difficult decisions in Dynasty recently. I've dropped some Jalen Wright. It is tough when you're in these deeper leagues and you feel like you have to drop a number 3 running back. It's tough. It's tough to swallow, but I acquire so many of them. I have so much of Jarquez Hunter. I have so many of these guys. Trevor Etienne, Achan. I have all these guys and in all these teams. And I can't hold on to all of them.
I know, man.
And
DJ Giddens.
Can't hold on to all of them, man. You can't keep them all. And you have to make tough decisions. And one of my tough decisions is just letting go of Wright. I'm like, okay, it's one thing to have Ollie Gordon, and that's sort of a thin thread. He doesn't have standalone value. And it is the Dolphins. And as much as I think there's value to be mined there, I'm already going deep with the Dolphins in order to find the value. To go deep to the 3rd running back, I'm like, all right, I think I'm good. I think I can go ahead and let go of my Jalen Wright. The path for him is super hard to see. And then even if he does, I'm not sure if he does get, a starting role. I don't even think he has the skill set to necessarily deliver on a regular basis. I'd much prefer Ollie Gordon. I think Ollie Gordon's much better. I think the case for a lot of people holding on to Jalen Wright is that there's a possibility that he can seize the job back from Ollie Gordon. I don't see it happening. So my faith in Gordon helps me let go of Wright.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's faster, and that's always going to have appeal to some people. And I'm not totally sure how to handicap Ollie Gordon versus Jalen Wright. And I know some people in the chat are talking about this like they think maybe it's Wright and not Gordon. But I guess the reason I would tend to bet on Gordon is just that his game is so different than Devon Achan's game. Ollie Gordon is about power. Maybe just that he gives you something different is going to make it easier for Ollie Gordon to find his niche in this offense. I know that's just kind of the way I'm thinking, but hard to tell last year. I mean, Ollie Gordon played more snaps, but Jalen Wright was hurt to start the season, which kind of put him behind. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how to assess this one, Matt.
I think it's going to be Gordon all the way. These are day 3 picks. I get it. Like neither of these guys have the draft capital to support them, but Ollie Gordon was a mega producer in college.
Okay, we're talking about, man.
Say again?
That sophomore year he had was insane.
Yeah, he is insane. And he looked like it was a small sample, so I can't really go in and go, hey, there's a full season of stats that I'm going to in the NFL. Look at what Ollie Gordon did. Look how efficient he is. Well, we can't say that, right? But what I saw from Ollie Gordon, man, he looked the part. And I'm going to lean on a guy where if he does get an opportunity that he could be a bell cow, he could be, 70% opportunity share type of player. He has that in him. I don't think that Jalen Wright has that in him. I don't see it. I just don't. I'm sorry. I don't see it. Yeah, he wasn't 18% juke rate, right? That was lower than Alvin Kamara, right? I get it. Yards per touch, 3.0. I mean, it was not an efficient season for Ollie Gordon at all. But when you watched him, he certainly looked better. He looked more like 2023
when he
Oklahoma
had
State.
1,732 rushing yards and 21 touchdown runs. And added 330 receiving yards. He had 2,052 yards from scrimmage that year for Oklahoma
2023
State
Oklahoma State, Ollie Gordon. That is the reason why you want him over Jalen Wright and why I think he's going to, pretty easily. I think the news reports will tell the story in July and August, but I think he's going to easily capture that role, seize it as the RB2 there in Miami. So that's the direction I'm going. I would love to see a guy like Jalen Wright get an opportunity, but he is a slasher. And for a lot of these reasons, a lot of these guys that come out, it's the Bashal Tutins, I'm skeptical. I've been burned way too many times by the slasher archetype running backs. And it's these guys like Ollie Gordon that come in and they actually, I'd love to say that I'd love to point to a guy like Tyler Algier, just pretend that Jeremiah Love didn't go to Arizona. I would love to pretend he didn't, Pat, right? Like, it's guys like Tyler Algier that I've come to appreciate over the last few years, and guys like Jalen Wright that I've come to be a little more skeptical about. And Ollie Gordon is best comparable on Player Profiler to Tyler Algier. So, another team. Wait, have I convinced you yet that Miami is a value source?
Yeah, my only fear, and I'm with you on Dulcich. I think he's a really nice, sneaky tight end. And wouldn't shock me if he led this team in receptions. My only fear is that they're going to, so even though the worst passing games in the league generate like at least 3,000 yards every year, I'm just worried that it could get chopped up like 7 ways in Miami. That's my concern. And no wide receiver has more than like 500 yards. And, you've got a bunch of guys like Jalen Tolbert and Malik Washington and Kevin Coleman and Chris Bell. I know a lot of people think he's sexy. What I hate about Chris Bell's situation is that he's going to be rehabbing this knee injury during training camp. The one flaw in his game is that he's not regarded as a great route runner. And that would be the time to work on the route running. And he's going to be not able to be on the field, most likely.
Oh, I have bad news for anyone that's been drafting Chris Bell in best ball, for example. It's not going to happen this year. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen for these guys. Maybe if he were a first round pick, maybe, right? I could see it. Maybe if he were a first round pick, he's not. He was a late 3rd round pick. That's just what he is. Is he big and athletic and exciting? Yes. Did I draft him a bunch already in Dynasty? Yes. Are these teams that I think are going to be competitive this year? No. That's just what's happening. The question is, who is going to be the number 1 receiver, the wide receiver? This is probably going to be Dulcich. So we have to say wide receiver. For Miami, I say Tolbert. Who do you got?
Tolbert's a pretty good guess. I mean, if I knew Kevin Coleman was going to beat out Malik Washington to be the slot guy, I might even take a shot at Coleman, even though he was a day 3 pick. And I'm betting on Dulcich to lead that team in receptions, or AJ.
We already said that.
Tolbert's probably the most interesting, though. I mean, I don't know.
He's a very solid player. He's very solid, did not command a lot of targets in Dallas, nor would he, right? How could he? He wouldn't. He's a late bloomer, similar to Adam Thielen. I'm not saying he's Adam Thielen, but he is comparable to Adam Thielen on Player Profiler. And the thing with him was that it was well documented. Took him a while to pick up the playbook and to get comfortable with NFL offenses coming from South Alabama. That's just a thing that happened with him. And now he's 27 and he's in his super prime, and Miami brings him in. Cheap contract. I get it. It's not like they paid a lot, but I think that would he sign? I don't even know. You know how much what the contract was for?
Oh no, let's find it.
I gotta look it up. Player Profiler does not have the contract for Jalen Tolbert, which concerns me about the contract value. I'm like, we don't have the contract. It was a 1-year deal worth
1 year,
$1.4 million with
a $187,000 $500 signing bonus, fully guaranteed.
So low. That is so bad. That's less than what Rachaad White got from the Commanders, which was embarrassingly low. Oof. Yeah. Okay. That's tough. How much is Malik Washington making?
Oh.
Let's see. Let's look at Malik Washington's contract.
So that's still a rookie contract for a day 3 guy?
I think he's still on his rookie contract, is he not?
Yeah, 4-year rookie deal worth $4.2 million.
That's essentially what Tolbert signed for. Tolbert is making just slightly more. Slightly more than Malik Washington.
Malik got a bigger signing bonus. He was almost $200,000.
Yikes. I'm going to go ahead and believe that I know something about Jalen Tolbert that the rest of the NFL doesn't. Damn it. It's a tough position to be in. We're almost at the point, Pat, at this point in the show where I have to scratch off Miami as a value team. I had it in stone on the show sheet. I imagined you were just going to co-sign. You didn't at the beginning of the show. I was a little concerned I was like, really? You're not going to? Okay, Miami? These guys are all free. How could it not be a value team? And then you were like, well, and I'm like, oh, I'll convince him, no problem. And now we're into it. And we've got people debating Jalen Wright. And I'm like, oh, man, this is a debate now. And now we're debating Malik Washington, Jalen Tolbert. And I'm like, what are we doing? What we've found out is that I guess there's three players. I think Achan's a good value in all formats. Well, not really Dynasty. I think only in seasonal leagues. And then Malik Willis. We agree Malik Willis is draftable, very draftable.
Absolutely.
Very draftable. Very, 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 very like his ADP, like his upside as a Konami QB. And then Dulcich. The best value might be Dulcich of all these guys. I don't think that's enough. I don't think those 3 guys are enough for us to say, hey, this is one of the best places to mine value in fantasy is the Miami Dolphins.
The wide receiver room is just too ambiguous. It's like picking up one of these guys is like going to a rummage sale and getting a set of coasters for $1, and you bring it home and your wife's like, we've got 3 sets of coasters. What do you need that for?
And I can hear people saying, well, I can hear them at home screaming at their radio or their device, whatever they're listening to a podcast on, saying, hey, Chris Bell, guys, you guys, I can't believe you dismissed Chris Bell. This is a big argument for Chris Bell. And I get it, man. This is why I've been drafting so much Chris Bell. Beginning of the second round in a Dynasty rookie draft, Chris Bell. Hell yeah. But not this year. Not this year. A rookie 3rd round pick coming in without a camp. Very little preseason action at all. Rehabbing a knee injury with a quarterback that's new to the team and a new coaching staff. And you think he's going to come in and get integrated quickly enough to produce this year? Maybe in December. Maybe. But probably not. It's probably a lost season for Chris Bell. My hesitancy drafting Chris Bell was I can get this guy later in the season. But then I remembered that I'm going to be annoyed trying to get him. And I'm quickly going to just lose interest and do all the. It's like, in theory, if I could trust myself to be hyperactive in the fall, I would have just not drafted Chris Bell and just submitted a bunch of trade offers, try to get him in September, October. Then I remembered I'm not going to want to do those trades. I'm not going to want to go through that kind of process during the season. There's no way. I'm going to be way too busy. So then I was like, there's no way I'm going to remember to go and try to acquire all this Chris Bell on October 5th. So I think I just need to draft him and just make sure I have him, because a year from now, we're going to be having a conversation. I think that, you know what this is? We should put this whole conversation in a time capsule and we should revisit it a year from now. And then I think Miami will be a true value and Chris Bell will be headlining that. this is a guy we need to go get aggressively.
Yeah, we'll be more excited a year from now, no question. But I think there are people, though, who are expecting rookie year impact from Chris Bell, and we seem to agree that's not realistic.
Willis, Achane, Dulcich. That's the list.
Yep.
Tennessee. I have Tennessee as a value team. We haven't talked about this team at all. We didn't talk about it at the beginning of the show when my audio was horrible. I hate doing this, but I'm going to do it. I'm basing my thesis that Tennessee is a great value team on one game. One game only. Can you guess what game that is? Pretending you didn't see the show sheet already?
Well, I do remember he had a pretty good game against the Seahawks, who had a great defense.
That game against the Seahawks, I would put that game up against anyone else's performance in any other game in terms of impacting that player's lifetime projection and the team's future. It would be very difficult for anyone to come up with a game. And go ahead, please, in the chat, in the comments, you're listening to the show, wherever you are, let me know. You can always email me, podfather@rotorunderworld.com. Give me another example of a more impactful game than Cam Ward and what he was able to do against Seattle. And then you might say, well, he didn't do anything. What's the big deal? One touchdown. And I'm like, this was Seattle. They embarrassed Drake May in the Super Bowl. And yet Cam Ward had like a plus 4.5 EPA in that game. That was his first positive EPA game of the season. It happened to be against Seattle. And he was under heavy duress, like a 42% pressure rate that game. And yet his completion percentage was like 10+% above expectation in that game. Like, I've been studying that game, and that game is a window into what we could see moving forward for Cam Ward. And he played better from that game onward. That was a signal. This team and this quarterback is on the right trajectory. That's the case for investing in Tennessee this offseason in fantasy football.
It was such a slow start for him. Things were so ugly, the supporting cast so thin, but he did seem to find his footing later in the year. Didn't have a multiple touchdown game until week 14 and then rattled off 4 straight. That was after the Seattle game, which I think was week 12. But yeah, it did seem like he finally got things going. Carnell Tate just seems like he's going to be a perfect fit for what Cam Ward likes to do, because he likes to take shots downfield. I mean, that was kind of the concern about him coming out of college, that he was he hit a little much too YOLO in his game. Carnell Tate is a guy who you can throw to when he's well covered, and he's still going to come down with a lot of those balls.
Carnell Tate, dude. So they add Carnell Tate, and then we have this I think strong signal that Cam Ward is heading in the right direction as this entire offseason, healthy offseason, with his weapons, right? Jackson Dart doesn't have that. Jackson Dart doesn't have healthy weapons to be building rapport with throughout the year. Have there been any reports? I'm looking for the reports where Cam Ward invites Carnell Tate to his house to stay for a month, and they just throw footballs all day. I want to say that would make me so happy if I saw that report.
Yeah, we want that.
Yeah, that would be that was CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, right? Remember that? That's what I was like. Ooh, I like the CeeDee Lamb. Ooh, I'm excited about this Cowboys offense. They're hanging out the house for a month. Oh my God, I'd love to be there. It'd be fun. And then, sure enough, bang, best offense in the league. Could Tennessee be the best offense in the league? It's not the craziest thing. It's not especially if their defense is bad. They're going to have to throw. They draft Nick Singleton. Who you got, Nick Singleton or Jonah Coleman?
Dynasty or redraft? I guess I don't know if it matters.
Both.
I'll say Singleton.
Yeah.
What I like about Singleton is that Tony Pollard, and Tyjae Spears are both playing in the final seasons of their deals. So it stands to reason Singleton's going to get some sort of meaningful audition at some point.
Very. When the roster watch guys, Alex Dunlap and Cody Carpentier, were explaining to me how good they think Singleton could be and why, they're like, this guy had like Saquon level physical skills at Penn
Size,
State.
speed, yep.
You got to understand what this guy was squatting, like what he was doing, like physically what he's capable. He's a monster physically. And I'm like, wow, you can actually get a monster physical specimen on a team that has one of the worst backfields, right? No one has ever in the last, let's say, year and a half, like spoken about the Tennessee Titans as like a backfield they want to invest in, right? Tyjae Spears has a little electricity to him. Tony Pollard, he's coming back from this leg injury. He's going to be healthier this year. He's going to have a better, more productive offseason. That's good. But he's also now quite a bit older than prime Tony Pollard. So it's there. It is so there for Singleton to just seize that job in, let's say, October. And then imagine, okay, so Pollard picks up an injury at some point. No one is going to be just defaulting to, oh, it's going to be Spears. It's going to be the Spears show. I don't see it, man.
Yeah, and Singleton's freshman year at Penn State, he looked like he was going to possibly be a first-round running back, like by the time he finally came out. Then he did have some bad years, like the sophomore year was not nearly as good. The senior year wasn't great. And there are like questions about how good his vision is, and maybe Katron Allen was just the better pure runner. But man, the size, speed, pass catching ability, the tools are pretty interesting for Nick Singleton. And I like
that's what we have to go on, man. In rookie drafts, that's what we have to go on. I'm at the beginning of a second round. I'm like, am I going to be punting this year and just grabbing Chris Bell? Or am I going to be punting this year and going Nicholas Singleton? No, but I mean, it's true. Like, you have to kind of, hey, or we're going to trade back, try to get Ted Hurst. It's not great options here, but at least if you get Singleton, you feel like, okay, or same with Chris Bell, you feel like, all right, I at least have a guy where if things had gone differently in college, that he could have been a first rounder. In the second round of a rookie draft, that's all you can hope for. Hey, if Ted Hurst had gone to Clemson, maybe he's a first rounder. Well, not this year, because none of the Clemson guys, all the Clemson guys they had their draft stock vaporized. But let's say Ted Hurst goes to Georgia. Well, he wouldn't have been productive at Georgia either. Anyway, let's say Ted Hurst goes. Where could he have gone? Where
could we put Ted Hurst?
Where could we have put Ted Hurst? Ted Hurst was the number one receiver on Indiana. Okay. Let's say that, or let's say he was on Miami. Let's put Ted Hurst on Miami.
Sure.
Right. So Ted Hurst goes to Miami, and he's a first rounder. Okay, I can talk myself into Ted Hurst. Things break down. You just get a glimpse at what Singleton could be, especially early when he's just a freshman and he's playing at such a high level against older players. That is enticing. You see what you can get with Chris Bell with the size and the speed, if he can figure out the route running at the next level. Okay. There you can talk yourself into it. This is very much you're talking yourself into it draft class for Dynasty rookie drafts. And those are my three guys that I've talked myself into in a big way. And yeah, Singleton's on that list. And no one needs to talk themselves into Carnell Tate.
No. clear path to pretty significant targets right away.
Yeah. And who else is on that depth chart besides Carnell Tate?
Elikiah Manor, Wandale, Shamir DK, but DK's buried now with Wandale there.
But DK plays a very different position than Wandale. Like, should we just let go of Aomenor? Is he not going to happen? Because Aomenor exceeded expectations last year. He had over 500 yards receiving.
Yeah, I'd like to see what his role is going to be. I'm still interested. I liked him as a prospect more than maybe some other people did.
Yeah, I like him too. I think he's interesting. Like I'm facing these roster cut decisions in Dynasty, and I'm like, no, because I've seen him being cut, and I'm like, no. I'm picking up this guy because I'm just in on this offense. I think he is going to play. He is best comparable to Khalil Shakir in a good way. And I'm not like acquiring any Wandale. I don't understand this. Can someone explain this to me? Can you explain this to me in the chat? Somebody, anybody? This Wandale Robinson? Since when does anyone care about Wandale Robinson?
He's like Brian Dable's Pat.
But why?
I don't know.
It's 140 targets and it gives you nothing. Right. And now they have Carnell Tate in Tennessee. They have Aomenor going into his second year after a very productive for a rookie. Okay. If you're a rookie 4th rounder and you go up and put 500 plus yards on the board, that's impressive. So he's 6'2", 208. Like, this guy has ideal size as an NFL flanker. Right. So he and Carnell Tate, you could easily see them being the 1-2 there. And okay, so you have a little slot guy that's going to go out there and get a bunch of targets. Big deal. Will he help maybe them matriculate the ball downfield and get some first downs? Sure. Is this a guy I want for fantasy? Absolutely not. Get Wandale out of here. I don't have any Wandale. I would never. They drafted Carnell Tate, man. And they hit on Aomenor. And the guy that has the downfield sort of spike week capabilities is DK.
Yeah, it wouldn't seem, barring injury, that there is any path for Wandale to have one of those 80 or 90 catch seasons.
It's silly. It's silly. And then the tight end is interesting. Gunnar Helm, underrated. They acquired Dan Bellinger from the Giants. Gunnar Helm, I'm in these leagues, man. 2 tight ends. I'm in a tight end premium league where we start 2 tight ends, and one of my starting tight ends in that league was Gunnar Helm because I picked up all these orphans. And I was like, man, that's a bummer. And again, I'm looking more into it going, okay, this guy's only 23 years old. Okay, the guy put up over 350 yards last year. He basically had the Aomenor season as a tight end.
Yeah, he's just not hyper athletic, but he was always pretty productive at Texas, I thought. So
it's crazy to see a guy running a 4.8 plus doing anything in the league.
Right.
So I it's not like I'm like banking on this guy, but if you just need production where you're starting 2 tight ends and it's tight end premium, then Gunnar Helm is going to produce. There are guys like that are just going to produce. I have Charlie Kohler in leagues because I'm like, they're going to play a lot of 12 personnel there. Gadsden's pretty much a receiver playing tight end. Kohler's going to be getting targets in that offense, like it or not. He's going to score. He's going to score touchdowns, like it or not. And again, I'm in these deep leagues where it's tight end premium. You start 2 tight ends, and there's 12 teams. Do the math, man. Charlie Kohler's getting rostered. Guys like Gunnar Helm are getting rostered. And there's just a lot of value there. I think that everybody is a value. Everybody is a value with the exception of Wandale Robinson. That's my take. Even I don't love Tony Pollard, but Tony Pollard's ADP suggests that he needs to be drafted. If you believe this team is going to take a big leap forward this year, then you also need to be drafting Tony Pollard.
Yeah, Pollard came on late last year. he was really bad at the beginning of the season where the Titans offense was just a train wreck. And Tyjae Spears was out. I think he was on PUP. So we thought Pollard was going to have this nice runway into the start of the season.
Which we should have known better because he was rehabbing a
Should've.
serious leg injury.
Yep. Didn't do much of anything. And then late in the year, Pollard possibly incentivized by a bonus if he reached 1,000 yards, went into overdrive and was fantastic down the stretch. It was like night and day, Pollard's early season, late season.
So Pollard apparently is a cut candidate, according to the chat. I don't believe that's true. I think that they know that he wasn't 100%, right? The fans, the fantasy gamers aren't appreciating it the way the people in the building were appreciating Tony Pollard's situation last year. Just like, we'll appreciate it with Scadaboo, right? Because he's such a frontline player for New York. It's different when a guy is playing for Tennessee and he sort of gets forgotten about. Not a lot of beat reporter coverage and not a lot of appreciation for a guy that's, not quite all the way back. And then, no surprise, Cam Ward starts playing better. The offensive line coalesces and Pollard gets incrementally healthier as the season goes on. And suddenly he's exceeding expectations at the end of the year and you're playing him and he's scoring fantasy points. Great. This is one of the best sources of, if it is true that Cam Ward, let's say, is a top 12 quarterback in the league this year, and it's very much possible now that he has Carnell Tate, then he's going to carry this whole offense with him. That's the case. And it all started with that Seattle game. You're in on this. You're with me on this one?
Yeah. I think Cam Ward's going to have a stepping stone season. It's going to be better than it was last year. You rather have Ward or Fernando Mendoza in Dynasty?
Ward. Oh, in Dynasty?
Yeah.
Ooh, in Dynasty. Ooh, for this year, certainly Ward. In Dynasty, oh boy. I think I'm still going to go Mendoza. Oh, it's tough, though. Oh, it's tough.
It is close.
The thing with Mendoza is he has Bowers, but he doesn't have Carnell Tate.
Right.
Bowers is still technically a tight end. So but it's also easier for Mendoza to acquire a frontline go-to wide receiver. Cam Ward will go his whole career, never have a Bowers. And Cam Ward didn't elevate a team to win a national championship from being perennial last place program in Indiana. And I mean, that's been my case all along, is like what Mendoza did in college was so impressive. And he sort of looks the part. It just feels right. Like everything is just coming together where this is face of the NFL type player. That I'm gonna go ahead and bet on that guy because they're both a 101. We have 101 and 101, so it's just more impressive resume for Mendoza. And yes, Cam Ward really seized the day at the end of last year. Still, we're talking about a handful of games, and I can't base that on a handful of games. It could be that Mendoza comes out and blows away Cam Ward's rookie year in 2026. That's very much in the realm of possibility. So I'm going to go ahead and take the uncertainty, the unknown there. I'm going to take what I know for a known with Mendoza and lean into also what I don't know. It could more information comes in this year about Mendoza in the NFL, and then that only helps him. So that's why I'm going to go with Mendoza.
I'm with you.
It's tough though. It's close. I'm so into Ward. I love him. I really do. I don't know. I saw a video of Ward and Shadur Sanders practicing together, and how he looked, how he interacted with his teammates, especially in comparison to Sanders. I was like, wow, this guy's on a different level. And then sure enough, the NFL was like, yeah, this guy's on a different level. We're going to take him at the 101, and we're not going to draft Sanders until day 3. So there you go. I was like, yeah, all right. I wasn't seeing things when I was watching that. That made sense. Tough though. Tough. I mean, who would you rather have this year? Would you rather have CJ Stroud or Cam Ward?
Ward.
Okay. We're in agreement. Agree.
Okay.
I think the Rams are a source of value. I think the Rams are very interesting in that there's huge ambiguity with the running back room suddenly, even more ambiguity with the tight end room, and no ambiguity with the wide receivers. It's the most stable wide receiver room, aside from Puka Nakua's behavioral weirdness. Like the Puka Nakua weirdness adds a little element of uncertainty there, but otherwise as stable as it gets. And then their tight end room is unstable as it gets. And suddenly their quarterback room is interesting in that now there's like politics involved and feelings involved in the quarterback room. And the running back room, the touch distribution from previous years is unsustainable with the rise of Blake Corum and what I think is the potential of Jarquez Hunter. So I see I like to lean into teams with ambiguity, and this is a team with ambiguity in a couple different areas. So I think that's where we can find some value.
I'm with you here. I love Corum as sort of a third running back to get on a 0 RB team because he goes so late because people see him as a backup, but he's a guy who has massive potential value if anything happens to Kyren, and has some standalone value as we saw last year, just because he's pretty good at scoring touchdowns and they like to use him down there.
Yeah. He's also good at those things they love Kyren about, right? You love Kyren because he's trusted. He's going to get in there as he's probably pound for pound the best blocker, the best pass blocker of all the running backs in the league, pound for pound, right? Guy's ferocious and fearless. And yet as a runner, he just gets you what's blocked, right? He's trusted, but he's not special. That's a pretty low bar for someone like Corum to come in and be like, actually, you can trust me too. I'm also a great blocker. I also know all my assignments. And then that also could be something that Jarquez Hunter says, actually, guys, I'm good at those things too now. I'm now a year in, and I'm a better runner than any of these guys. So to me, I think I see ambiguity. I see some ambiguity actually building during the season. I see Hunter getting an opportunity, flashing and impressing, and then suddenly asking the question. I see Blake Corum asking the question right away. And you're already hearing there's already news breaking that the people at least around the team are using the word committee. And that was not something that was talked about last year. It's the Kyren show. And those of us that love Hunter or were thinking maybe Corum can carve out a role, they're like, oh, slow down. Now it's different. It feels very different this offseason.
Yeah, if Jarquez gets in on this, that changes the calculus. That makes Corum a lot less attractive. And Jarquez is sort of in that Jalen Royals bucket, guy that people liked before the draft last season, out of sight, out of mind after one quiet rookie year where we had two capable guys in front of him who didn't get hurt.
My favorite players to add. I mean, he is definitely a top 5 RB3 for Dynasty, right? Achane for sure. Depends on how you view Jordan James. If you want to just call Jordan James an RB3, he has a similar Dynasty startup ADP. He's another guy that I've gobbled up as much as I can't get enough, right? So these are when you're balancing your roster in Dynasty, a lot of times you make these free agent decisions at that final roster spot just based on how strong you are in certain positions. Even if I'm overweight on running back, I'm going right back to the well if I see Hunter available, if I see Achane available. I'm going right back to these guys. I'm going to be way overweight on running back, Sean Tucker. I'm going to be way overweight on these guys. If they're available, these RB3s that I like, I'm going to go get them because I see real upside there. There's real upside with Jarquez Hunter. He's in the right offense if things break his way. Very much so. I mean, look at him. I mean, I think he's impressive. The guy ran a 4.44. And he was like a super durable sort of a between the tackles, trusted focal point of the offense for an SEC team.
Yeah, we have an Auburn fan at the company who very much liked Jarquez Hunter.
Yes, of course he did.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think there's a lot of intrigue there with the backfield, and it's just one of those we're going to be following the beat reporters, people at The Athletic that are talking about the Rams. I'm very interested to hear what they have to say about the Rams backfield, and crossing my fingers that Jarquez Hunter can exceed expectations in training camp and preseason. I mean, Jarquez Hunter has a couple big preseason performances. I mean, that's one of those guys. He is going to be featured in preseason.
Yep.
Because they don't even want to get Corum hurt, much less Kyron Williams. So they're going to be feeding Jarquez Hunter in preseason. He goes out, has a big game in preseason. Suddenly it's like, oh, well, who's this Jarquez Hunter guy? It's like, guys, we were just hyping him a year ago. Just like you said. Like what are we doing? Who is this Jalen Royals? Jalen Royals went for 100 yards in a preseason game. Who's this guy? What do you mean, who's this guy? People love this guy. People love the Jalen Royals tape. What do you mean? Where have you been? Oh, he didn't break out as a day 3 rookie, so he doesn't matter. Oh, okay. The tight ends are also interesting. My chips are on Ferguson. I'm just going to put that out there. But I see Max Clare getting drafted in tight end premium leagues and in rookie drafts higher than I'm willing to take him. And then I also know Parkinson's out there, and I know that Higbee's out there, and they're playing all this 12 and 13 personnel. So it's like, okay, multiple tight ends can get involved, but what if they find a primary tight end and just say, okay, no more rotation, no more committee, where you play in, play out, Ferguson's going to be out there, and then the question is, who are the other tight ends going to be? But it's going to be Ferguson first. I think this offense will be Ferguson first.
I agree. Hyper athletic, looked terrific in limited opportunities last year. I think the reason there's hope for Claire also is that I believe after this year, Colby Parkinson and Davis Allen have their contracts expire. So then it's down to Ferguson, Claire, and 2-year-old Tyler Higbee, who by next year would be 33.
Dust.
So, yeah.
I'm dropping Higbee. Spoiler alert, I'm dropping Higbee.
He's a drop.
And I'm getting as much Ferguson as I can. Of all because it's so ambiguous. And yet everyone knows if Ferguson, this guy has some upside, right? Yeah, this guy's interesting. He's athletic. Oh, Brenton Strange, that's his best comparable on Player Profile. Look what Brenton Strange did last year. Very usable. Top 12 tight end. He was like the number 1 streaming tight end last year when he was healthy. Ferguson could easily be that guy this year. And even if he doesn't play in all the snaps, they're rotating these guys in and out. They're playing so many formations with multiple tight ends. He's going to have plenty of bites at the apple to score touchdowns.
Yeah, they led in 12 and 13 personnel last year.
They did. So it's he's very interesting. So I see some value here. Again, more deep players, more I'm not saying like, oh, Puka's an incredible value. No one's saying that, right? But he's someone I want to draft, just like Devon Achane, someone I want to draft.
He could be a value if he has a few more Dennis Rodman episodes and scares people off.
Buy the dip. Yeah, buy the dip if anything happens with Puka. He's not Rashee Rice. Okay, these are different situations. I just think that he's more of a weirdo and in less of a less of a criminal, really. So another team to talk about, Panthers. I see the Panthers again. This we promised, we teased this. Another AFC South team getting involved on this list of value teams. I got to go Panthers, and primarily because we've talked about undrafted free agent wide receivers and how they have such a poor history early in their careers, with the glaring exception of Jalen Coker. And I know it's not interesting anymore to talk about Coker. He's one of the more popular sleepers in all of fantasy, especially Dynasty. People are all over him on Dynasty Reddit. It's passé at this point to talk about Coker, but I was one of the first. I was able, in spite of this, to acquire him on many teams. And we talked about it on the Dynasty Trades. The Dynasty got the Trade Gods show that we do on Player Profile. I do with the coach. Coach and I went through several trades, and we have more. We're going to be recording again very soon, and I have a lot more trades involving Coker. So he is attainable, even though there's a lot of buzz. And this team is a team that's going to be throwing a lot. I don't love that they're refusing to commit to Bryce Young. That's not a good sign. But just structurally, this team is going to have to throw. They are in a position to potentially win the division. I think they know that going in. It's just an interesting team to be investing in. I don't necessarily think that Tet McMillan is a great value. I think his ADP is just fair. I think everyone else, though, on down the board is very interesting.
Yeah, I agree with Tet being fair, and I do think he's really good and is probably going to command something close to a 25% target share again. I wish I had the faith that you have that the Panthers are going to throw a lot, but it seemed at times like they were trying to hide Bryce Young last year.
I don't think they're going to throw a lot. I want to be clear about this. I don't think they're going to be throwing more than they did last year, but not a lot. They're certainly going to be run first. I mean, now they have Jonathan Brooks, but I like Jonathan Brooks. And Chuba Hubbard's not expensive either. Chuba Hubbard's an all-purpose back who's very affordable. Jonathan Brooks is another all-purpose back who's very affordable. And then you go all the way down to Trevor Achane, and he's very affordable. I mean, he's free. I mean, he was just dropped in another Dynasty league. I'm in another Dynasty league, and after the draft, someone dropped Trevor Achane. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to grab him. Thank you very much.
Yeah, after swearing that I would never invest in Jonathan Brooks again after the latest ACL tear, I'm kind of back in.
Oh, you're
actually in the middle of a redraft, slow draft, and we play this one out. I kind of went 0 RB in this one, Matt, and I've got part of the RB committee, Jonathan Brooks and Nick Singleton. Yeah,
that doesn't sound like a 0 RB squad to me. That sounds like a hero RB squad. That sounds like you have multiple hero RBs. It's not hero RB. I know it is 0 RB for sure.
Yeah.
In terms of just from definitionally, the structure is 0 RB, but those are the guys. That's why 0 RB is viable. I mean, I wrote about it in the Dynasty Dominator book. There's a whole chapter on 0 RB in Dynasty. And you could this year, because you have all these sleeper running backs that we've talked about, you could load up on running back and just invest in the other positions. You can absolutely do that.
Yeah. So
I'd love to know who else. So what other running backs did you draft? You drafted Brooks.
Yeah, I think Pollard was my first one. Pollard and Singleton.
Perfect. Pollard, Singleton.
Yeah, because we have 20 rounds in this draft. So
also in the book, we talk about handcuffing in Dynasty, how it's a suggested, not a viable, a suggested tactic in Dynasty, and one that I would never employ in seasonal leagues, because I'm not betting against myself in any given season. But for their careers, Pollard Singleton is as good as it gets. If I was going to do 0 RB, I would draft Pollard and Singleton, and then I would make sure I also get Jonathan Brooks. Oh, wait, you did that.
Are Cody and Alex in on Jonathan Brooks? I mean, they're the Texas guys, right? Like, if Brooks's knee is okay, there's kind of no doubt in my mind he's better than Chuba Hubbard. Like, Chuba's fine. He's a league average back, though.
He's ready. Like, he's ready. He said he's ready to go. He's good to go. It's been an extra season. Like, he's had a whole extra season to get this thing fully flexible, to remold and remodel all those ligaments and tendons to get his knee in great shape. We've had players like Tony Saragusa that have played in the NFL without an ACL. He played his whole career in the NFL, at least after the first couple games, with no ACL. Right? I don't even know. Does Tajay Spears have, is he missing an ACL?
I think he might be missing an ACL.
There's like, it's not great. If you can strengthen all the other ligaments around it and you can work for more than a year on your flexibility, and with all the injections they can do now, with all the PRP and all the stem cells and everything else, that's my bet. My bet on Jonathan Brooks is a bet on medical technology as much as anything else.
Do you remember the other running back of the last 10 years who was missing an ACL?
Tell me.
Jay Ajayi.
Jay Ajayi had a season.
He had a season.
He had a season, right? He had a season. I was going to say, I thought maybe Frank Gore. Frank Gore will be a kid. I think he just had a bunch of ACL tears. I think Frank Gore had more. It might be possible. We should look this up. If anyone can look this up in the chat, that'd be great. Did Frank Gore tear his ACL more times than Jonathan Brooks? I believe so.
He tore it in the Natty one year where it was just gruesome. Trying to remember if there was there were at least 2, I think, for Gore.
It's been done.
Brooks
the bottom line is
3. I don't know if Gore was 3 or 2.
I don't know. Hopefully the chat can help. That's not something we can easily look up. Maybe we can. Actually, you know what? We could ask, let's ask AI. We'll ask Gemini this. Okay. How many times, by the way, I'm going to do a podcast with Gemini. I did a demo for my wife, a 5-minute podcast with Gemini to show her what it would be like. It's not bad. Podcasting with Gemini is crazy. It's really interesting. It's not that actionable necessarily, the stuff that I was able to put out there, but certainly I got a lot of my takes confirmed, which of course, right?
Mirror.
It will be fun. I think it'll be a fun show. So how many times did Frank Gore tear his ACL? Let's see. We'll get to this. I think it's going to be he tore his left ACL and he tore his right ACL. And let's see. He tore his ACL twice. That's it. All right. But it was a different ACL. I believe Brooks tore the same ACL twice. Is that right?
Yes, it was the same one twice.
All right. He's been I take this back. It pretty much, I think we could say beyond a shadow of a doubt that this has been my worst show ever. And I've done hundreds of shows, thousands perhaps. This has been my worst show documenting injuries. Jonathan Brooks also tore his ACL twice. Right ACL tear. And then he tore the same ACL again. So, yeah. Right. So again, basically everything I've said about the particulars and the details about an injury have been wrong today. So that in that way, it's kind of interesting that how could someone be this wrong about injuries? But in fairness, I will say we've corrected all the mistakes.
Yeah. I'm trying to shield you. I just said 3 ACL tears for Jonathan Brooks, so I was overcounting.
Yeah, I think the thing with Jonathan Brooks has always been that it's the same one. But regardless, this is a bet on medical technology, and I just think this offense is going to be more efficient. I don't think that Bryce Young it's over, right? As soon as the team comes out and says we don't intend to extend this guy, right?
Yeah.
I think you know what you have there. They've seen him. They've had him in the building. They've had him on the practice field for, at this point now, like over 1,000 days. They've had all the opportunity, the entire sample they need to make an assessment. And certainly there have been players like Baker Mayfield that have gone on and had careers with a second and third team, but it's not good. And if you're trying to find a team that's going to exceed expectations in terms of pass volume, that's not great. But the offensive line, good. Run blocking, very good. Very efficient running game. So I think you pair a very efficient running game with a consolidated offense where they don't have a tight end that anyone is investing in at all. They had these 2 wide receivers that we like, and they've got a couple running backs, 3 running backs that we like. I like the consolidation. I like that we can ignore Leggett, we can ignore the tight ends, and we can just focus in on a couple wide receivers and the running backs. And that they're in the right division with the right incentives to score more points than they did last year.
Agreed.
Yeah. So that's my case. So now would you agree at least would you put Carolina in the top 10 of sources of value for fantasy?
I think so. I mean, we're only the number of targets limited, but I do think I'm going to be drafting a fair amount of Tedero McMillan, Jalen Coker, and Jonathan Brooks this year.
And so appreciate Pat sticking with me through this show. It's been a long show. We're making it up to the audience for the bad audio earlier. And please go follow him. Tell him where to follow you, and where can they find your articles?
Yeah, at fantasypros.com. And hope people check out the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast and Fantasy Pros Dynasty Podcast, and people can get me on Twitter at Fitz_FF.
2 podcasts, 2 Fantasy Pros podcasts featuring my man, Pat Fitzmaurice. We're going to go easy here. I thought we'd save this one to the end because I think there's going to be crazy agreement, obvious agreement here. Lots of value with the Washington Commanders. The case for the Commanders is they've got an elite quarterback, but all the pieces that are going to benefit from being associated with Jaden Daniels are discounted. What do you think?
Yes. Even Terry McLaurin, who they have said they want to run the offense through, didn't David Blau say not long ago that the goal was to get Terry McLaurin 10 targets a game, and he is going as a mid-level wide receiver 2?
Yeah. Why not, man?
And this is a guy who's 2 years removed from having an insane season with a healthy Jaden Daniels, where he had 1,100 yards and a career high 13 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So I like him. What are you doing at running back with the Commanders, Matt?
That's a big question. The Rachaad White contract is very concerning. Very bad. I don't like it at all. In fact, I kind of hate it. So
could Bill be a post-hype sleeper?
Yes. The thing is, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt comes into the league having barely played in college the year prior, somehow wins the starting job in week 1. That to me matters. That's sort of similar to what we're talking about with Cam Ward, where you had this one game. And there's a lot of information embedded in this one game. This one game against Seattle, where he played his best game of the year, and it was only up from there. Well, it wasn't up from there in week 1 for Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, but that one game super indicative that they liked what they saw a lot to trust him at that level, to put him in that position in week 1. Tells me that fantasy gamers are never going to like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt because he didn't catch any passes. Right? So if he's not going to score a lot of fantasy points with receptions, those guys are always going to get heavily discounted, especially in PPR leagues. The thing is, I'm not even sure that he's the worst receiver. He was, playing with, for a portion of last season, a mobile quarterback, and they throw to the running back less. And he was also a rookie, and he's trying to learn all the plays and all the schemes. And okay, he figured out the run blocking, but the pass catching element eluded him in year 1. I think that's all okay. I see a lot of value here. I'm bummed that a lot of these teams I've taken over, they have a lot of Rachaad White and not a lot of Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, and that is a bummer. But I like Ja'Cory. He's very explosive, and there's upside if he can just incrementally improve as a receiver. That's all we need to see, and you can see the narrative building next year, where look at his target share from year 1 to year 2. You can absolutely see a guy who put up over 800 yards rushing, but only 9 catches. If he could easily triple his number of receptions. And then suddenly we have a narrative that he's improving as a pass catcher significantly.
Right. He just needs to show pulse as a pass catcher.
That's it.
And it's funny because, like, we had the Krosky mania of August 2025, and he didn't live up to that, but quietly averaged 4.6 yards per carry, 6th in yards after contact per attempt among running backs with at least like 60 attempts. I think he led all NFL running backs in success rate on runs.
I don't know about that. We don't have success rate on Player Profiler. That's sort of that's a pretty flimsy.
It is a weird.
Yeah, it's a flimsy
sort of
statistic
subjective stat.
That the definition is subjective, so that's why it's not on Player Profiler. Right. But we have juke rate, evaded tackles per touch, 26.6%. That was number 7 among NFL running backs. Some of these other metrics that are more offensive line dependent, like yards created per touch, is even a little more offensive line dependent than isolating the evaded tackles. Like breakaway runs, for example, 4% breakaway run rate wasn't great. But again, a lot of that has to do with the offensive line. The juke rate is independent of any other factors. It's just, can you avoid contact? And, you might say, he's a weak pass catcher, but he only had 1 drop. So he just wasn't in a position. Is he a terrible route runner? Maybe, probably. Okay. He's coming from Arizona, where he barely played as a senior, played in 1 game. So, okay.
A unique season in that he was considered a disappointment, but was actually sneaky good.
Yeah. If you want to increase the sample, you can go back to 2023 at Arizona, or actually it was New Mexico. He played at 3 schools. He played at Alabama State, then New Mexico, then Arizona. See, these are things that I get right. As long as if we don't talk about injuries, then injury history, then I'll dial it in. Only 7 catches. See, only 7 catches, but the year before 13. So he's not a strong receiver. I don't think he is, but he is built like one. And I think that it's possible. It's possible that he's just used more. I mean, it's not that hard to just get out in space and catch the football when it comes to you. I don't see him as a totally incompetent grinder back. He's 5'10", 206. I see the ability for him to get to, I don't know, what would he max out at? 25 catches in a season?
Yeah.
Probably, right? He lacks agility, which is a problem. That is also a problem out in space. I think part of it is when you saw his agility score come in at 1172, 20th percentile, like, okay, this helps to explain a little bit why he wasn't catching more passes out of the backfield. That's not a strength. But whenever you're the running back on a team led by one of the most efficient mobile quarterbacks, it would be like saying, oh, we're going to fade Derrick Henry because he doesn't catch passes. Well, no, I mean, that's just not a strength of his, number one. But number two, when you're tethered to Lamar Jackson, you're more excited about taking advantage of all the touchdown scoring opportunities and the extra efficiency that they get as a runner with the Alfred Morris corollary. So again, this all roads, I think, lead back to Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Because of what I've seen with Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt on Player Profiler, it has allowed me to drop and let go of Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford is another one of these running backs that I've had in a lot of these dynasty rosters, and I've seen him on a lot of these rosters. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and let go of Jerome Ford. Because of Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, I feel confident letting go of Jerome Ford, for example.
Yeah, I don't know if Ford makes that roster if Katron Allen is someone they like. And speaking of Katron Allen, you mentioned sort of the grinder profile with Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. What complicated things for him last year, they had another grinder with Chris Rodriguez, who was stealing a lot of those types of touches and some goal line work, short yardage stuff. Maybe Katron Allen cuts into Krosky-Merritt's plates
I'm
in
not
the same
doing
way
this, man.
Rodriguez does. But
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it with these day 3 running backs.
Right. Like,
I'm
I feel
not
better
doing it.
about the situation for JCM with Katron Allen as the potential poacher rather than Chris Rodriguez.
We were arguing in Pittsburgh about Katron Allen, and I'm like, no, we're talking about a 6th round running back who is primarily a grinder, and they already have one that proved himself last year. So now he has to prove himself more than the guy that proved it to the point that he was the starter in week 1 last year. Both are late day 3 picks. So I mean, I have the bird in the hand here with Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. That's where I'm going to put my chips. Thank you very much. So yeah, that's a great, I mean, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, I think, is a value, but also Rachaad White is going to be involved because they don't have a lot of weapons as in the receiving game. You can see Rachaad White getting out there and just playing a lot out of the slot. You can see him coming, maybe they could even play some, like I can see split backfield formations where they end up then taking Rachaad White and sending him in motion. I can see a lot of those kinds of plays where they're like, hey, listen, we know we don't have a lot of depth at receiver here, so we're going to play 2 running backs. We're going to get creative. I can see that. What about the tight end position? Because they signed Chigakwonkwu and they had Ben Sinnott already. And I can tell you that a lot of these rosters I've taken over, there's a lot of Ben Sinnott on these rosters, and I can't bring myself to letting Sinnott go. Because again, we haven't seen Chigakwonkwu rise up and sees like, oh, I'm a 2-way tight end. No. I think it's very much up in the air what's going to happen here. Sinnott this is Jalen Royals all over again. This is like, you guys love this guy. And you liked Jarquez Hunter. There was a whole hive around Jarquez Hunter. There's a whole hive around Jalen Royals. There was a whole hive around Ben Sinnott. And then everyone just melted away. It's like, wait a second. We have now a healthy season of Jaden Daniels coming up. We have less target competition. And we're just going to walk away from Ben Sinnott because Chigakwonkwu signed there? What?
Yeah, I like your take on this. And I think anyone who does projections is going to have Chig projected way ahead of Sinnott. But
sure,
if it was going to happen for Chig, it probably would have happened by now. And Sinnott has more of a 3-down skill set. And sometimes like those tight ends, it takes them a little longer to pop because tight ends hard. The duality of the position, the blocking and the receiving, like it's a hard position to learn. Because of his 3-down potential, though, that's why he could maybe pop. Like he's going to get more opportunities to be on the field if he shows in training camp and the preseason that he's finally ready.
Sinnott was a 2nd-round pick, man.
Right. And people loved him, man, coming out of what?
Yeah.
K-State?
Yeah, K-State. He almost had 700 receiving yards. But yet, oh no, never mind. Never mind, Ben Sinnott. Never mind. Whoa, no, not never mind. Like this is again one of those teams where I am looking at the guy behind the guy across the board. Okay. And like look at the receivers. Antonio Williams, very interesting. Athletic, but profiles more of like a slot player. And then they also have Luke McCaffrey, who's a slot guy. So I can see them playing Williams at flanker and McCaffrey in the slot. That I can see happening. How do you see things playing out there with the formations?
Yeah, I don't know. I think McCaffrey is probably going to be ahead of Jalen Lane in any pecking order. So
Jalen Lane is another player where just based on principle, how ambiguous and thin this wide receiving core is. I have acquired a bunch of Jalen Lane. I had no intention of doing this. And yet looking at all the depth charts, I'm going, man, I'm in these deep dynasty leagues and I need to give Jalen Lane, a taxi squad shot, given how easy it is for him to gain some steam, earning some route running in this offense. Antonio Williams is a 3rd round rookie and it's going to take some time. Luke McCaffrey, same thing. Luke McCaffrey is going to get targets. Like, Luke, what's the big difference between Luke McCaffrey and Wan'Dale Robinson for fantasy?
Opportunity.
Yeah, but they have the same role on the depth chart. They're both the number 3 receiver. They're going to be in the slot permanently. It's very similar.
Yeah.
We haven't seen McCaffrey command 140 targets yet. I understand that. But just in terms of teams where there's a lot of uncertainty with roles, there's a lot of opportunity, targets and carries up for grabs, you could do worse. When you're going deep and you're trying to find guys that you could flex in at times, periodically, based on matchups throughout the season, I like McCaffrey.
Yeah. We should acknowledge the speculation that Brandon Ayuk could wind up with the Commanders at some point. Like there's been talk about that. He and Jaden Daniels were former teammates in college. But then again, we don't know what Brandon Ayuk is going to be.
Well, the speculation was that A.J. Brown would be a Patriot. Now that's suddenly up in the air because the Chiefs are like, oh, we want back in. It's like, it's interesting. Like you could see the Patriots being like, we know we're getting A.J. Brown. It's just a matter of time. And then the Eagles are like, don't worry, A.J. Brown's yours. Just wait until June 1 so we can spread the dead cap out an extra year from all the signing bonuses and restructuring we've done with him. We want to spread out the dead cap hit across multiple seasons. And we have to wait until June 1 to do that if we trade him. Okay, fine. And then the Patriots front office is reading the news like, oh, look what happened to Rashee Rice. Bummer. That helps us and our chances to make the Super Bowl. And then they're like, well, actually, this isn't great because maybe the Chiefs are calling Philadelphia right now. So this idea that we know player X is heading to team Y, anything can happen, man. And certainly the chances that Brandon Ayuk goes to Washington, much lower than the chances that A.J. Brown goes to New England. But again, we're talking about players that don't cost anything. We're talking about filling out your roster in Dynasty. And a guy like Luke McCaffrey is on the type of team where you need to be doing that. A guy like Antonio Williams, I like him over other receivers that are getting that have similar ADPs. I would rather have Williams. I think it was an interesting debate of like, if you're a team that's more win now, you would probably go Williams over Chris Bell. But I think at some point I came to the conclusion that no matter what mode my team is in, I would go Chris Bell over Antonio Williams just because Antonio Williams' physical profile is much closer to a Jalen McMillan. The upside isn't quite there, right? We know we have a mobile quarterback who's not going to, have the highest pass rate, and we have a Jalen McMillan type profile, I'm going to, no matter what mode I'm in, I'm going Chris Bell, but I still like Antonio Williams. I still think he's a guy that is a good target at the end, but more at the end of the second round. What ended up happening to me in rookie drafts this year was I was squeezed out of Antonio Williams, where on the front end of the second round, I was getting a lot of Chris Bell. And then on the back end, I was getting a lot of Ted Hurst. And it was really a very specific situation where I would end up with Antonio Williams. But I do like him. I just want to say I like him. I think he's going to produce.
Yeah, I like him too. I've got him in maybe 2 of my rookie drafts so far. Oh, I got to switch cameras.
Your camera died.
I know. Hold on. There we go. Sorry. My phone camera ran out of juice.
Dude,
technical difficulties.
We're having some fun technical difficulties. And that's what happens when you do a 2+ hour show. You're going to have a few live. The thing is, man, there's a whole debate of should you be live, should you be streaming, or should you be uploading shows like to YouTube and Facebook. And I love the live chat. I love being able to go to the chat and say, hey guys, can we do some research on Frank Gore? Or can we get some feedback on this position? Or like, hey, your mic is not operating at full capacity. Hey, you guys should know that there's this situation currently playing out with this team, and this happens to me all the time. I look up in the chat, and there's almost always some bit of information. Like for example, remember we talked about Gunnar Helm? Apparently, Gunnar Helm twisted his ankle at the combine. And that's part of the reason why he ran so slow.
I saw that, and I had literally not heard that from anyone until someone in your chat mentioned it.
So that's why we suffer through some of these technical glitches so that we can have the benefit of the live audience, and we appreciate them very, very much. The show would not be the same without them. The show would not be the same without guests like yourself coming on. I really appreciate it. Who is your truther? Who is the guy, the guy in? So we've actually talked about a ton of guys that could be potential truthers today already, but I'm talking about these players like the Jarquez Hunters, like the Trevor Achans that are there. They're no longer rookies, and you're either gobbling it all up or you're like, I'm not. I see guys dropping him, and I'm not doing it. Who's one of those guys for you?
Oh shit, man! It's Anthony Richardson.
Oh yeah,
it's Anthony Richardson.
Oh yeah, really?
Like, I mean, just because briefly, I mean, the year he got his first taste of starting in Indianapolis, like he was getting hurt all the time, but he averaged more fantasy points per snap that year by Josh Allen, who was the leading fantasy score that year. And it wasn't close. I mean, like the rushing value this dude could provide. And we know he's got a rocket for an arm, but like no college, minimal college experience. And it's just, we've seen all the results, like guys who were 1-year college starters and first round picks. Like Kyler is the only one who's anything close to a success in that group. It seems like, I mean, it's just been a wasteland of these guys. But man, maybe if he can take the Malik Willis path where he has just been sitting and watching for a while, soaking it in, maybe it's going to look a little better when he gets back under center for someone. And it's going to take an injury to someone somewhere. Like it doesn't seem like Indy wants to put him back on the field, but man, I'm still smitten with the tools, Matt. I can't help it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still toting him around on a few rosters.
The quarterback position is just different, man. It's just different. The tools are nice, but they have to come with the whole package.
Yeah.
Right. And
I get it.
This is a Jamarcus Russell situation in terms of this is now well documented and widely reported that he just does not show up to meetings. He does not put the work in. He is, last one to show up, first one to leave. That mentality doesn't work in the NFL at any position longer term, but at the quarterback position, you can't have a career at all if that's how you operate. You can get away with that at some other positions for some time, but not quarterback. That's the problem. That my understanding is that has been the problem. And he has sort of flaws in his mechanics, but then you could argue that so did Josh Allen coming out, and he's worked on those flaws. He's either worked around them, or he's worked to improve them, and just the level of work is just not there. It's a bummer, man. It's a bummer, but I think that he's a guy you can hold on to for another year. Please, by all means, anyone that has him, hold on. I mean, that's a rainbow that's worth chasing, but not at the expense of any kind of good players that you could have as alternatives on the roster. That would be what that's my, I don't have any Richardson, unfortunately, man. I can't join you.
Trust me, he's not my third quarterback on any dynasty roster, Matt. It's fourth or lower.
Yeah, I wish I have some rosters where I wish he was my third quarterback. It's so bad. But yeah. Anyway, bold prediction. I'll get you out of here. Just give us a bold prediction, my friend.
So I'm on Christian Watson this year. Like I think this could be a monster year. Uptick in usage coming, maybe with the consolidation of the wide receivers. It's Watson, it's Jaden Reed, it's Matthew Golden. You've got Tucker Kraft coming off a torn ACL. Watson last year, 17.5 yards per catch, 11.1 yards per target, 2.28 yards per route run. Dude, 6'4", has 4.36 speed, and he's friggin' good when you watch him play. And guy came back. I know everyone thinks he's made out of glass, but he actually came back early from a torn ACL last year to kick ass. I'm going to say Christian Watson stays healthy this year and gives us a wide receiver 1 finish.
Christian Watson, a much better version of Alec Pierce.
It's important to me that all of our media be free, but it is you, the premium subscriber, with access to data analysis, the rankings, Dynasty Deluxe, DFS Dominator, the world-famous draft kit. You get that content and you make all of this possible. The free podcasts, articles, NFL draft content. So I must give a special thanks to all of our premium subscribers. You make all of this possible.